Welcome to Modern Lifekeeping, where we discuss ways to thrive in today's world. I'm your host, Lori Christine. This episode is not a stand on gun control. I'm not involved in politics. As a matter of fact, I'm ill-informed and ignorant about politics. This episode is about violence and the fear we perceive around violence. While better gun control is an obvious solution, it is one of many solutions. Better gun control without addressing violence as a societal issue is counterproductive and inefficient. Better gun control alone will not reduce violence any more than sending abusers to anger management will prevent abuse. We must address the root of violence, and that starts with our beliefs and what we think. In the 90s, while working at Child Protective Services, I learned that you don't send domestic violence perpetrators to anger management classes. Why not? Well, anger management is not their root problem. Their thinking is. Many times when offenders attend anger management, they only learn how to manage their anger. They don't stop being abusive because their thinking has not changed. In other words, they still think of their partner as a possession. They still believe they have the right to control another. This does not end domestic violence. It makes it even more insidious. Have you ever wondered what the purpose of fear is? What is it here to communicate to us? Does being fearful guide us towards our potential or away from it? Have you ever wondered if gender fluidity is here to teach us to love unconditionally? Animals certainly show us unconditional love. I believe one of our life lessons is to learn to love each other unconditionally. This belief allows me to embrace gender fluidity and to appreciate the message individuals who are gender fluid are here to offer. What if violence is showing up for us to heal our beliefs and thoughts around fear? All of us, not just those who are exhibiting violent behavior, but those that are fearful of it as well. Is better gun control the answer or a distraction from the underlying cause of violence? Is fighting for or against gun control just a form of resisting change? We've seen time and time again that fighting against violence is counterintuitive. It's our thinking that must be changed in order to reduce violence amongst us. We all have times when we feel hate and judgment and fear. What if hate and judgment and fear are showing up to show us our power to heal ourselves? We only have power over what we can control, and that is ourselves. We can choose unconditional love and non-judgment for others. That doesn't mean we spend time with those that don't have our best interests in mind. It means we offer the energy of love to everyone because it represents how we choose to show up in the world. I choose to show up as my best self in the energy of unconditional love. To do so, I do the following. 1. I practice awareness and monitor my thoughts. 2. I seek information below the surface to uncover limiting beliefs or thoughts that no longer serve me. 3. I choose a better feeling belief. We each have the power within ourselves to be more aware of how we are showing up in the world, as well as the thoughts we are thinking. What are we role modeling to our children or others? Do we accept and love everyone unconditionally? Or does our love depend on economic status, choices, education, sexuality, skin color, etc.? Are we inclusive? Do we show kindness to strangers without judgment or pity? Are we sharing our blessings with others? Volunteering at school? Helping the teacher or other students? Did you know there are still individuals who get through school with only a 6th grade education? Instead of showing others pity or judgment, we can recognize where they are on their journey. What actions are we taking in our hearts and our words towards peace? I heard a rant the other day about the recent shooting that was so filled with hate, blame, and name-calling that it was difficult to take seriously. Hate does not transform hate. The energy of hate will not overcome anything. Each time we fight hate with more hate, we get more hate. Hatred, name-calling, shaming, and blaming are not working. The hatred and judgment takes our attention from the issue. It is a distraction. I might say it's the devil's work. It allows us to forget the power we have in the moment, the power to change how we respond. Hate is not power. It just feels like it is. Hate represents where we lack power. Hate shows us where we have healing to do. Hate shows us where our beliefs are keeping us stuck in fear. We fear our child will be killed. We think it is the worst thing that can happen. Well, that rant happened in front of a child. And all you're teaching that child is that gun control is the only answer, and that we should hate people that fight against gun control, that anyone that fights against gun control is the enemy. That's what you're teaching children when you rant about gun control in front of your child. We fear our child will be killed. We think it is the worst thing that can happen. It is definitely one of the toughest things that can happen. But what would be worse would be living in fear, hate, and judgment, and allowing your child to live in that same fear, hate, and judgment. when they could be living in love and peace. We have the power to transmute hate into an energy that heals instead of contributes to more hate. This work begins with being aware of the thoughts we think. I read a book several years ago that changed how I view, among other things, death. It was a book suggesting, what if the children that die in school shootings died for the good of all humankind? That there is a greater purpose, a lesson the community may be learning. Whoa, now they are heroes of a different kind. Do you think children who die from school violence are trying to teach us fear, hate, judgment, and more violence, or non-judgment and unconditional love? Are we honoring our children by fighting violence with hatred? If life was fair, would it be called heaven? Can we embrace beliefs that expand instead of limit us? What if these children came here to earth and agreed to die for the good of all? This feels honoring of these children in a very expansive way. What if we invested unconditional love into the justice system and trusted the outcomes? That is the power of our mind. Use it to expand instead of limit us. So many of us think that this isn't what God wants. Well, first of all, I don't think it's about wanting. Wanting implies an attachment to an outcome. What if God is without attachments? What if God only has unconditional love? What if God is unconditional love? What if we are here to create, evolve, and thrive? We have a mind and free will in which to learn. Perhaps we choose our experiences and death prior to being born. What if? I choose to believe that I will die when my high self says it's time to go. I have read too many near-death experiences to believe anything but this. A belief otherwise is self-sabotaging in light of all the evidence I have read. It's no coincidence that I've been drawn to learning about near-death experiences. It served me well when my daughter did die. I could blame the doctors or the friend who told her they couldn't be friends if she wasn't on medication, family and friends for not being there, myself for any number of reasons, or I could choose to embrace beliefs that expand me. I choose to believe that it was her soul's choice to die at that time, and that her friend and her doctor and other supporting characters created the circumstances that allowed her death. Humans have been at war with each other for as long as history has been documented. We have been killing each other as long as we have been alive. In many ways, we've evolved to simply hurting each other with words and toxic energy such as hate. It's all a form of violence. I personally would never own a gun. I don't like them. I get nervous when I pull up to a traffic light and someone on a motorcycle has one strapped to their hip. It feels weird. Or when I worked in the government building and the police had assault weapons, it made me want to throw up. The feeling of wanting to throw up showed me that I have a gap between reality and what I expect reality to be. This is where I can remind myself of my belief that I will die at exactly the right time. This allows me not to hang on to the fear and allow the feeling of wanting to throw up to pass over me. In 2021, on my daughter Kira's birthday, there was a shooting in the townhouse right next to me. I had only moved to this new state 5 months earlier with my son. I didn't know a lot of people, or all my way around. I could get to the grocery store and some basic things, but I was new to town. And this was not just any shooting. It was around 10 p.m. on a Friday night when the shots rang out. An explosion of gunfire through the front door, shattering the glass out the back door as it exited. The bullet holes remained in the fence, and up until last month, the door, riddled with holes, still hung next door. My next-door neighbor was shot 10 times in the arm, and her 9-year-old had been shot numerous times as well, I think 7 times. Both of them were alive, but the little girl died 3 times while they worked to save her. They were shot by 2 neighbors across the street in the townhouse complex, a 16-year-old and a 19-year-old. Actually, he might have been 15 and 19. Well, it doesn't matter. They were both under the age of 20. The shooter came right up to the doorstep and shot them. They were able to run into the house where they continued to be shot. How did they possibly both survive that? This was the second shooting I experienced since moving to North Carolina. The first shooting also involved my next-door neighbor. An ex showed up early one morning to speak with her before she left for work. She exited her home in the company of a male friend. When the ex saw the male friend, an argument ensued. Her friend was legally carrying a gun and shot the ex in self-defense, who scurried away. The ex retaliated by getting gang member wannabes, the kids that lived across the street, really just across the parking, 2 spots worth of parking. I could see into their windows across the way. That's how close they lived to us. And I seriously considered getting a gun at that point for what are probably some pretty obvious reasons. Once I was able to observe the fear that I was experiencing, I looked for a more empowering belief. I drew a natural conclusion that if I got a gun, I would be part of the problem. I can easily see my own gun being used against me. I doubt I have the ability to kill someone at this point in my life anyway. Better gun control will not prevent violence any more than making drugs illegal solves addiction, or sending perpetrators to anger management classes will solve domestic violence. My daughter died because her liver couldn't process an antidepressant she was taking. It caused her to have a seizure and die. I took her to 5 doctors and voiced my concern that she was having seizures. Was it negligence, or was it just her time to die? Do we really want to put our safety and trust in the medical system either way? What we are doing is not working. What if we took a new perspective? What if we became more aware of how we are showing up and what our feelings are communicating to us? What if we stopped making it about other people and made it about ourselves? Do you think less fear would mean we would create less things to fear? What if? Now, more than ever, we have the collective power to create the change we wish to be. It does not come from a place of fear, hate, or judgment. As I inventory our systems, they all could use some work. What if we became more aware of how we are showing up and contributing to the energy of the earth? What if we put more positive attentions towards the systems that we are using to manage our society? What if we became more aware of when we are being greedy, hateful, or judgmental? What if we counted the number of times we use the word hate in any one day and agreed to make it 0? Hate is energy and violence represents hate. What if we believed that the energy of hate fed on our fear, loved our greed, and swam on our judgment? What if we each became aware of every time fear, greed, hate, or judgment shows up for us? What if we observed these thoughts, identified the underlying limiting belief, then transmuted the belief into a better feeling thought or belief? Would we be changing the world around us a little bit at a time? Is this really our purpose? Or is it our purpose to perpetuate hate and judgment? You are the only one who really knows what is true for you. What do you choose to believe? Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Modern Lifekeeping with Lori Christine, brought to you by Kira Kisses. Embracing perspectives that expand us is how we grow and evolve and heal ourselves and others around us. For more information on my individual and parenting support groups, retreats, and services, visit Kira, Keara, kisses.com. Until we meet again, keep wondering.